though. This conflict is not only a conflict of mankind, it's a conflict also between the angels and the demons. So between what people will define as alien races. As Crowley said, he used to call them gods, then we call them angels and demons, and now, in 50 years we will call them something else, and we are calling them indeed something else. People call them aliens, and the image that Crowley gave of the lamb is very, it leaves no doubt about that. It is, the image that we always portray of an alien. That's the image, and Crowley portrayed it a long time before Roswell. We are about to enter a new era. And in this new era, obviously, we will find ourselves not alone in this universe. We have never been alone in this universe. We are living many parallel dimensions at the same time. And these parallel dimensions, sometimes manage to filter into our dimension. When we open a gate to certain demons or to certain angels to enter into this reality, they can manifest. The spirits, we call them spirits also, no? They manifest the moment in which we invoke them, we call them. Sometimes they see a weakness in us and they intervene if they're positive to help us, if they are negative to make us go even more into the dark side and probably destroy ourselves.
Right.
So this conflict was already described very well by an occultist called Eliphas Levi.
Right.
And in this small booklet called "The Spirits," which he dedicated to Baron Spedalieri, he said that these spirit manifestations, and I think I mentioned this also the last time we had this interview, and that's why the whole Allan Kardec and Spiritism movement was created in that period. Spirits will start to gather more and more and more. Their presence will be felt more and more and more towards the connecting point, the moment in which they are like there is a strong connection. And so that's why we have more and more manifestations, what you define as poltergeist manifestations. More and more the spirits around them, to actually see them sometimes, or at least to feel them.
Right.
The more we go towards 2012, and the more these boundaries between dimensions are somehow getting looser. Our perception of time and space is very relative because we are humans. And also because we consider ourselves to be alive. So we have a perception of time that goes along, Time goes along and we become... But in reality, once you die, time is finished. It's infinite. Our perception of time is profoundly wrong. And it's only made so we can actually have order out of chaos. Exactly. But in reality, this perception of time is being made by us, and is being made for specific reason. For example, the fact that we have changed to the Gregorian calendar, and that this change from the old Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar was made 100 years more or less after the discovery of the Americas, is very important. You see, the Mayan calendar was only discovered once the conquistadores went to that part of the world, started to visit that part of the world. And though the Americas were already being discovered by the Templars, who went there following the ancient routes that were actually laid down by the Vikings, and that obviously they had already interacted with those people, it was only after really kind of being there that they saw, the importance of the Mayan calendar. And so for that reason, they created the Gregorian calendar. So on a specific date, which is very symbolic and has a very strong symbology also numerically speaking. And that's why Athanasius Kircher was the one who brought the knowledge of alchemy, the knowledge of magic inside the European courts, and he was himself a Jesuit. So they have been very powerful tool in the hands of the church. They have been the scientists of the church, the Jesuits of this time. That's why they are in Mount Graham. That's why they have an observatory in Mount Graham. Like they have many observatories around the world.
Right.
They are very skilled magicians, high-level magicians, but at the same time, they are not just, witch doctors. These people are scientists. They know exactly what it means to evoke, to create gates to welcome certain entities. They know that certain entities resides in certain places. It can be a mountain, it can be, a valley, it can be... There is entities that resides in specific places. And these entities can be very powerful. I think a very powerful entity resides in Colorado. And it is right there in the hotel, in the place where they have done also the Shining movie.
Oh, Stanley.
The Stanley Hotel is a place where you have a very powerful and strong entity residing there from ancient times. But that was even before, from ancient. In fact, the ancient Indians used to be very careful about those kind of entities, the totems, they used to erect in their name.
Right.
A connection with another dimension thanks to certain entities that reside in them.
I was told that the veil is very thin there at the Stanley. It has a very thin veil.
Yeah, because like I was saying before, there are gates, and that can be open. If you have the knowledge, you can open these gates very easily. I was supposed to actually be at the Stanley when they arrested me. For some reason, I ended up not going to the Stanley. I was supposed to actually go to the Stanley to make a specific ritual. 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 week after I was arrested, 2 weeks after I was, but I couldn't go because of what happened.
Right.
I might go another time to the Stanley.
We're supposed to go as a group where the Night Watchers are going in April.
The Night Watchers are going to the Stanley in April.
Yep.
Very interesting. I think that when you approach certain places, you should do it not in the profane way, but you should do it very carefully. As a scientist also wants to observe these phenomena with great respect.
Right.
Remember that these entities, since ancient times, have always been more friendly when you make to them some offerings. Or in other tradition, they give them rice, or in the, for example, Voodoo tradition is very popular, how they do it. They sacrifice chickens or they sacrifice other kinds of animals, depending on. Because these entities, when you actually give them something, they are a little bit more friendly.
Right.
That's the point of it. But if you go there as a researcher and you don't want to give them anything, try not to take anything from them,
right, exactly.
or to piss them off, because in that case, you will end up having somehow a nightmare.
I agree.
If you have any particular questions that you want to make to me, I will be glad to answer them to you.
Well, we're pretty much out of time for today, so what I'm basically just going to do is have you give everybody your website information. I want to tell you that I'm very sorry you had to go through that. It's horrible that people betrayed your trust, and I'm very sorry that you had to experience that, and I didn't even know about it, and it was a shock to me tonight to learn about it. And man, you've always got our support.
I think that when you get involved with the kind of work I'm doing, at the kind of level I'm doing, the risks are many.
Right.
And I think that is very important to understand that for each of these betrayals, of these wrongdoings against me, there is, after a positive outcome, some understanding, something comes out of it which is always more positive than the negativity you have received. If that's your attitude. Obviously, if your attitude is to just get entangled in all the negativity, then you just, you give in to the demons, you get possessed yourself. Basically, at that point, you are really possessed.